All right, and we're live. Hey, everybody, and welcome to episode 51 of the Multiverse show. Thank you guys for showing up today. It is going to be a damn good show. But first, we got to introduce the panel, as always. Available, which is about 95% of the time. Fame Entertainment.
Yeah, buddy. What's going on, people? Fame Entertainment from the Inner Circle. Welcome to episode 51 of the Multiverse show. We have some great topics lined up for you guys. You guys are going to have a lot of fun. And yes, this is the 95th percentile of the time that I show up. That means it's going to be a good day. Yeah, buddy.
All right, and our other co-host for the evening, Nick, a.k.a. Undead.
What's going on, guys? Back here on the podcast and dominating your Xbox achievement leader scores again.
All right. And we also have our ex-Soundmaster General, James.
You're just sticking a dagger into my heart there, man.
Man,
Hello.
we timed it. We timed episode 50 to be on the day before they were getting rid of it, and
and then my entire internet completely shut down in my house, and I couldn't be here.
And also, unrelated news, we are also hiring for James' replacement now.
I have offered to write a jingle for this show in the past. Anyway, hello. Yes, it's me, at James_S Wilson, James Sterling Wilson, the one, the only, the myth, the man, the legend. I just wanted to see how far I could go with that kind of intro. Come talk to me on Twitter about films, Radiohead, and what Radiohead is actually doing right now, because they're doing something, and I'm very excited.
Me too.
Right.
Hey guys, I hate to intervene, but can you guys hear us in the chat? Because I'm on YouTube and it says that they're waiting for us. That's what YouTube is saying.
I don't know.
There's a bit of a delay in the chat. Zach, what's up? Zachary Morgan, who's always here. Hey, man. Can you hear us? This is fun. While we're doing this, who's the other person that's here?
All right, and we have Mike.
Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Mike from the Inner Circle. Quick story. So I went to my boss today to ask for a raise, and I was running down all my accomplishments at work, and she just wasn't buying it. She wasn't budging. But then I told her that I played Ben-Hur on Xbox One, and that's what made her cave, and I got a 10% raise.
That Ben-Hur master race.
See, if I told my boss I beat Ben-Hur, he actually plays video games, and he'd be ashamed of me.
On the best Xbox exclusive out.
Oh, God.
Come on, man. Xbox ain't got no games.
That's a single-player only game.
Oh, no.
Anyway, guys, we have some really good topics we got going for us. But real quick, actually, one of us has actually seen Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, one of my most anticipated movies of the year.
Yep, I seen too.
James, you better be careful with this.
Hello. So, as you might have guessed from my voice, I am from the UK. And in the UK, we always get the Marvel films like a week earlier. So I've been sitting on this film since Friday. And I'm a massive fan of the original. And I was very, very excited for this one. And so I went in, like, really excited. And then the opening scene happened. And they started playing a song with, I'm just going to say, it's Mr. Blue Sky by ELO. Which is one of my favorite songs.
Soundtrack. We already know what's going on there. I've been listening to that all week.
Okay, I was just making sure. I don't want to reveal anything that I shouldn't. Sorry, that's me getting an email because I'm popular. So, Mr. Blue Sky, and then I was really excited. So then but then something happened in the course of that film, and I just didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I was going to. And I'll break it down. So let's start with story. There's really good moments in this film, but I feel the massive problem it has for me is tonal inconsistency. For example, the Mr. Blue Sky thing at the beginning, it's really happy, it's fun, there's a fun scene going on, and then immediately after we jumped into weird action, and the shift is too quick, and there's no time for us to adjust to what's happened in the scene before and what's happening now. And that happens way too often. There's one moment where a really quite a dark thing happens involving an airlock, and then it's followed by supposedly one of the biggest running gags of the film, and it just didn't work for me. That's not to say that there aren't good things in the film. The soundtrack, as I mentioned, is good. It's not as good as Awesome Mix Volume 1, in my honest opinion. But I will say it has the best musical moment out of both of the films involving a song by Cat Stevens. And I'm not going to say where that is in the film.
On there.
Yeah, you know the song, but you probably don't know.
Soundtrack list, you know what's going to happen.
I really don't think you do, actually.
I'm like 95% sure.
Especially no. With that song, I'm telling you now, you don't. Yeah, there's one thing in the film that I reckon a bunch of you guys will really like. There's lots of stuff about fathers and sons, like having fun and growing their relationship together. I'm a real sucker for that kind of stuff. Whenever it happens in a Pixar film, that's really good, and there's a bunch of good stuff in there. If we move on to characters, it's weird that if you really look at both of the films, the most human character is Rocket by a country mile. He's the only one that really shares his emotions, is both not afraid to share his emotions and afraid to really say what's going on in his head and what he's afraid of. So that was fun to see more of that. Nebula's back, as you know from the trailers, and she is a nice, interesting character arc. It works because she, underneath all that makeup, she's Karen Gillan from Doctor Who, and she's a really good actress.
Oh, nice.
The weak areas, in terms of characters, and I know we're gonna say this, it's the main Guardians. It's Peter, it's Gamora, and especially Ego. For me, was one of the weakest points of the film, which is it should be a massive red flag considering how much screen time they actually have together. It should work really well, but to me, it just didn't. Something was off. It seemed like he was queuing up to get that Marvel paycheck and having a good time instead of queuing up to get a really good character, which Ego could have been. The standout from the film to me is Michael Rooker as Yondu. It's not even a question. He steals the film. A bunch of different things, a bunch of good reasons. That's all I'm going to say in regards to the story, because I don't want to give anything away. I could go into massive detail about why this film is a bit of a disappointment to me. I'll quickly talk about the end credits. I'm not going to say what they are, obviously, but I will say that I've had enough that they need to make them meaningful again or completely scrap them. And the Stan Lee cameo was fun, but a bit pointless. The film's too long. It's 5 minutes shorter than 2001: Space Odyssey, which chronicles the birth of man to the dawn of a new species in 141 minutes. And this is 136, and it's just too long. And here's the thing I have about this film. In watching it, I realized something. I don't think the original is as good as everyone says it is. And here's why. We all went into Guardians thinking it was going to be just an average film, and we were blown away by how good it was. And that, over time, that nostalgia and memory has been warped, and we think it's way better than it was. And I think that's fed into the marketing of this, and has forced us to expect too much of Guardians 2. And for me, Guardians 2 is a disappointment. It's still a good film. And in terms of summer blockbusters, it's going to make a lot of money. And if you go see it, you'll have a good time. If you go with some mates, you will have a good time. It's a 7 out of 10 for me. And that is my opinion on Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
All right. So basically, if you had to rate it thumbs up or thumbs down, what would you throw it at?
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up. All right. I will give you
still a disappointment on what I expected.
Yeah. All right. I'm still planning to see it. I don't care what you had to say. I mean, I was sold on it simply because I do agree with you in one regard, where Guardians 1, it really isn't that great, but it's great because you had no idea who the hell these people were.
Oh, and one thing I forgot. What was the best thing about Guardians? The original one. It was them all together all of the time. They were very rarely split apart, and when they were, the film just got a bit worse. Don't you agree? And in this one, they're split apart for long sections, and it should I know why they did it, because they want you to focus on individuals and see how they work. And the result is that they don't work as individuals, they work as a team.
Huh. All right. Anyway, guys, we have some breaking news. Fame, why don't you drop this in?
Yeah, so apparently Todd McFarlane? Did they pronounce it? Yes. So he has been working on a script for a new Spawn movie. Anybody who's watched the first one, I don't know many people who actually really dislike the last Spawn movie. I actually enjoyed it. Most people didn't absolutely hate it. But from what I'm hearing, this is supposed to be a whole lot darker. And this be a much better movie. So I'm super excited about this because I'm a big Spawn fan, even though somebody went back and forth with me on Twitter about Spawn being the best superhero or whatever. But I am excited about a new Spawn movie on the way. The script is pretty much done, written, and hopefully within the next couple of months, we'll get an idea on actors and whatnot. I need to go back and listen to the entire thing that he put out on Facebook. Like I said, this literally just came out, and I'm trying to focus on the podcast and try to listen at the same time. It's a little bit difficult, but I will put a link in the description for you guys to go out and check it out. A new Spawn movie is finally on the way. Any thoughts?
I didn't think they confirmed it was definitely on the way, but he just said he has a script up, which is a good sign. It's more than the Batman movie has.
Yes. I have high hopes for this. I do. I enjoy. I know. I said I didn't really hear people really hate on the last Spawn movie. Well, I guess that's the only Spawn movie. But I'm excited for a darker version, because the first one, with John Leguizamo, I think it had too many moments of comedy. I want a dark Spawn movie, and I'm hoping that's what's coming.
Yeah, I mean, it was already pretty dark, but that was 90s dark.
Yeah, to me, I don't know. I guess because of today's standards, like me watching it now, I'm just like, it's too comedic. I think it was the whole John Leguizamo effect that made it, kind of corny. But I want a full blown dark, movie. I want it to be completely different. Just like, to me, how Logan was for the other Wolverine movies. Completely different. It's completely darker. And by the way, I watched Logan for the first time the other day, and I was in my feelings.
Oh, man, I told you. Like, grown men were shedding tears. I
shed a tear. Man, I was going to watch it with my daughter. And yeah, because she was running around, but then she stopped toward the end. And I'm sitting there like, don't you? And when she picked up that cross, I'm like, don't you do it. Yeah, I shed a tear, dog. I was sad.
Have you guys seen the How It Should Have Ended for Logan?
No, I can't do it.
You.
I don't want to spoil it.
No. Because it's they took the end of Les Mis.
Oh God.
And they made a parody version for Logan.
Oh no.
And so Jean Grey and Patrick Stewart come back and sing him into sleep.
Oh my gosh.
It's amazing.
That's too far. Anyway, we got to move right along. We got too much stuff going on. Also, thank you everybody who's in the chat right now. Hey Shabby, hey Zach, how you guys doing? Really appreciate you guys coming out and supporting us doing the show live. Definitely, if you guys are listening to some Podbean or anything else like that, or iTunes or Google Play or whoever, definitely come check us out on YouTube sometime. We do the show live. It is definitely a blast. But anyway, guys, we got a couple other topics we want to hit tonight. So next up, there has been a demo for Prey, which is actually not dropping tomorrow, but on Friday. So digital showing of hands here. Who has played the Prey demo?
Hello.
Nope.
James?
Not I. I did not play it yet. No.
Jeez. All right. Why are you not playing it? I know. All right. Wow.
Nope. I'm not touching it. I don't. I just want to pick it up day one and just. I don't want any. No. No demo.
I've been on that Mario Kart, man.
Oh God.
We'll get into that later. We will get into that later.
Oh, see, Mario Kart 8. You mean the Ben Hur simulator? God,
Man.
Oh man, we got but yeah, I played the Prey demo. It's an hour long. I played it both on PlayStation Slim, the PlayStation 4 Slim, and the Xbox One Slim, and it's good. It has really good twists. It gives me the best way I can describe it is it's like BioShock and Dead Space had a baby that was orphaned and then raised by Dishonored. Because it plays a lot like Dishonored in terms of control schemes, but at the same time, it's also very much structured after BioShock. It has a lot of weird elements, kind of like Dead Space. It's really quite an interesting mix, but still it kind of feels like its own thing with an art setting that was it's really well done, and you feel like you're part of a complete world.
I think it's much more Dead Space than BioShock.
Mm-hmm.
I think the only real aspects that have similarities it has with BioShock is the first-person view and the visual aesthetic of the space station. Apart from that, I think it shares absolutely no similarities to BioShock. Really.
I don't know. I mean, it has a lot of small aspects to it. I mean, one's a lot of visual callbacks, like getting a wrench.
Okay, I'll give you that. But BioShock's whole thing was BioShock was more of a philosophical, artistic game as opposed to a get out of here. And Prey is definitely a you got to get out of here kind of game.
I don't know. I got to play more, but I'm also trying not to play way too much of it. I know there's a couple of issues that are going to be addressed, technical wise. Xbox version, there's some very, very small texture pop and stuff, but like at a distance. But enough you kind of notice it if you're looking for it. On PlayStation, I've noticed two things. Color's a little more washed out, and what else is there? Input lag is a tad more input lag on the PlayStation version. But
Did you find Sorry, you.
What's up?
No, while I'm talking, I'll keep going. Did you find the controls a bit janky?
A little bit, but I played Dishonored, so it's pretty much the same thing. So I just come off of Dishonored 2, so I was pretty fresh. So, yeah, it's a slightly weirder control scheme. It's not like we're not talking Deus Ex here, where it's like who designed this.
I can't handle square. Sorry, I can't handle square being the action button.
Really?
I'll never get used to that.
I don't know. A lot of games have we call it X, but X or square. Like a lot of games have that as the action button.
Really?
Yeah.
It's always A or cross. Because on a PlayStation you can't call it X.
Mm-hmm. That's right. But anyway, I had a good time with it. I urge those guys who are on the fence who have not played it, go check it out. It's a true blue demo though. It's not a beta. If they're going to say, "Hey, this is the quality we got," go try it out. And it is the full game from the get go. It's not just some like pre-rendered section of like this is where you get to play. It really is like it's the first hour of the game.
I really like the music in the title sequence. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, it is, man. All right. Anyway, moving right along. Because there's really this kind of stuff is kind of like some side filler content before we get to the meat and potatoes of this episode. Because this one's gonna be good.
Wait, before we go into the meat, I just got to ask you very, very quickly about your opinion on Split.
Oh yeah, I forgot. I saw Split the other night. It was good. Like I'm convinced at this point, James McAvoy is going to be like in 20 years from now, we're gonna look back on his career kind of like on par with Christopher Lee.
So
where it's like you've done so much in the past, such varied content, and it's great for what it is. Christopher Lee used to be like Dracula, right?
Yeah, and he's the inspiration for
same
James
kind of
Bond
stuff.
because his cousin is Ian Fleming, who wrote James Bond, and Christopher Lee used to be in the army doing espionage.
Yep, and torturing Nazis.
Yeah, man, Christopher Lee is
so apparently
badass.
Split is supposed to be like the villain for some hero named Mr. Glass from some other movie.
No.
What?
Way back, like, what was it, 2000 or 1999?
Yeah, 2000
was Unbreakable.
Yeah, Unbreakable came out, and spoiler alert, this is a Shyamalan movie. But it's 2000. You had your chance here. The basic gist of that one is it's basically a comic book hero movie without all the pretense and fluff.
Yeah, it's the whole thing. The idea behind it is, what if Superman was on Earth and he didn't know he was Superman?
And not just that, but like the powers that you see in comic books are just exaggerations of regular things. So like you have Bruce Willis, who his character, he realizes he's never been sick before. He realizes he hasn't had any broken bones or anything, and he survives a fatal train crash that kills everyone else but him. And
he hasn't got a scratch at all.
Not a scratch. Survives this whole thing, and so if the idea is that it's not that they're over the top levels of superhuman strength and durability, but it is extended. It's more than usual. So for him in particular, it really is, and it's a really good thing. He has Samuel Jackson as the villain. He's Mr. Glass, and they do the whole Shyamalan twist later, and when we get to that. But basically, at the end of the Split's very straight up. There is no super twist really until the end credit scene. But there really is no twist per se.
It's very not a twist, it's a reveal.
Yeah, it's more of a reveal that it's just a part of the cinematic universe for Unbreakable. That's it. And if you see Unbreakable, you get that. It's a pretty cool deal.
Right. Actually, another thing I want to hit on too was when you talk about Guardians of the Galaxy. Did you guys hear this theory that Jesus Christ, was Stan Lee is actually like the same? He's literally the same person in every movie, as if he's a supernatural being. That's why he's in every movie. There's like a thing going around. I gotta find the link that he's supposed to be.
Well, I know what you're talking about. He's a Watu the Watcher.
Yeah,
he's just around.
They address this in Guardians 2.
Oh, awesome!
It is addressed. It is addressed in Guardians 2. That is all I will say.
Gotcha.
All right.
But the reason I brought up Split is because did you hear this week that M. Night Shyamalan announced his next film, Glass? Starring Sam Jackson, Bruce Willis, James McAvoy, and Anya Taylor-Joy. January 2019, boys. Put it in your calendar.
Oh boy,
it's in there, man. Because Unbreakable was great and Split was great.
Oh man, I gotta watch Unbreakable again.
I watched it on the plane.
Oh man, I'm excited now. I want to. This is gonna be dope. It's kind of funny watching Shyamalan go downhill really hard for the last 10 years, and then now he's kind of clawing his way back up slowly, very very slowly.
What a twist!
And I love M. Night Shyamalan's movies too, because he films them nearby the Philadelphia area. So in Unbreakable, when Bruce Willis's character is walking like under by the stadium, and when Mr. Glass falls down the steps at the train station, that's like 2 blocks from where I work.
Oh wow!
And Split's at it's actually filmed at the Philadelphia Zoo, isn't it?
Yeah, that's where it's right underneath the zoo.
All right. Anyway, while you spoke, Mike, you got up from underneath the desk. You reminded me to throw this at you. What about that Mario Kart 8?
Fire.
So Mario Kart, I love it. Now, the main difference is if you played it on Wii U, the main difference is in the version on the Switch is that you got a new 200cc mode, which I did not try yet. and you actually have a proper battle mode again. What I mean by that is, in the Wii U version, you had battle mode, but it just took place on the regular tracks. So it was kind of trash. It didn't feel right. But now on the Switch version in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, you actually have proper battle arenas. So that's a huge improvement, in my opinion, for the game. Another thing that's different is that when you start the game, basically all the characters are unlocked. The only thing you're really unlocking throughout the game is you unlock different carts depending upon how many coins you pick up. Like I think it's every 30 coins you unlock a new cart. And I think if you get 3 stars in all of the cups for each difficulty level, you unlock Gold Mario. But other than that, those are the main differences. But I think it's crazy, and it speaks to how good the game is, that even though this is a re-release with some minor upgrades, it's still the fastest selling Mario Kart game, and it still holds up. It's an awesome game.
Yeah, it's impressive. Didn't it already outsell it or something like that? It was some ridiculous thing. Like,
I remember I saw something that sold close to 500,000 units, and it's the fastest selling Mario Kart game in history, if I remember what I read correctly.
it's amazing. So who's better?
See, it would have done those. It would have done those numbers on the Wii U if they didn't wait like 2.5 years into the Wii U's life cycle to release it.
Yeah, it was a huge mistake.
There's
I think
no-
that was the problem with the Wii U, is because the Wii U, it took too long for it to really get the good games, like the meaningful games that would have moved it out the gate. I don't want to say it was weak at launch, but there was nothing really groundbreaking there. So
I'll say it was weak at launch because it was.
Let's face it, if you make a Nintendo console and you don't have a Smash Brothers or Mario Kart within the first 1.5 years, what are you doing?
yeah, I would agree with that.
Man, all they got to do now is they just got to have that Smash Bros, man. That's the only thing I'm waiting for right now.
All Nintendo needs to do to make the Switch sell amazingly well is about every 3 to 4 months, crank out a game people want. Like, basically, like, release a Metroid, and then 4 months later, release Smash Brothers, and then 4 months later, release Mario RPG sequel. And
Listen, whenever they drop a dedicated Pokemon game for this console, it's a wrap.
Yeah,
I promise you, it's a wrap. It's a wrap.
No, there were some people bannering back and forth on Twitter today. I'm sorry to change the topic, but there's predictions that the Switch may eventually outsell the Xbox One lifetime sales. I really don't think it's going to catch up to the PS4, but if it did outsell the Xbox One eventually, I honestly wouldn't be surprised. I think the Switch has more mass appeal, and like Fame said, if they put a Pokemon game on there, it's a wrap.
But before I make that claim, I do want to wait to see what happens with the games that come out of E3 and Square. I mean, the biggest harp on Xbox is what the games, and apparently, there's a lot of unannounced games, a lot of single player games unannounced for the Xbox. You freaking clowns!
Feel like
So I want to see what happens with the Scorpio with the games out of E3 before I make that statement. I do think it will continue to sell very well. I think Nintendo has a bit of it has a lot, going for itself with these consoles constantly selling out and people trying to buy them, and the want for it is amazing. But I won't make that statement about the outselling Xbox until I see what happens at E3, honestly.
And also, I'd like to point out, too, that I know a lot of people are banking on the dedicated Pokemon games selling the Switch like wildfire. But just keep in mind that there were dedicated Pokemon games on the GameCube as well, and they were not successful at all.
Yeah, but the GameCube isn't portable.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was. You could pick that thing up, hit your brother.
It had a handle.
It was a suitcase. I beg your pardon.
It was the most dangerous console of all time.
Hey, I still have my GameCube with the Game Boy game adapter on the bottom. Okay, that is like my OG go-to.
If Nintendo ever makes a first-person shooter, they should put a GameCube in there as the melee weapon.
Deal.
Anyway,
Splatoon DLC weapons.
And I'm not saying that the Switch is going to sell the Xbox One. I'm just saying if it did, I wouldn't be surprised if it did.
Wait, are you saying the Xbox should have a handle?
I'm getting a little confused with Nintendo though. Like, I thought they've never clarified. Is like the Switch the replacement for the Wii U and the 3DS, or are they doing another
Just the Wii
handheld?
U.
Like,
I mean, they just came out with the 2D XL or something like that. I'm like, come on,
2DS XL Turbo with knuckles.
I get so confused with Nintendo and like the direction they're gonna go. That's why I have a hard time investing in them. Like, well, do I want to switch eventually? But I think they're making the moves right now. But with Nintendo, it's whether or not they can achieve long term. Because this is very similar to the Wii U at launch, except they actually had some decent games. There were some decent games on the Wii U at launch, but I want to see what the Wii U look. I would say I would cave and buy a Wii U next summer, depending on what's released and what doesn't get delayed into oblivion.
Do you mean Switch?
Twitch?
Do you mean you'll buy a Switch next summer?
Possibly.
Because you said Wii U.
Damn it.
I'm going to drop my Wii U to pick a Wii U.
Ooh, Dragon Neon. $3. I'll bite. Sorry.
I'm sorry.
No,
guys.
it's all right. We'll take a detour. Fame, tell us what else you're buying.
I ain't buying nothing, man. Nah, I am about to buy this Double Dragon Neon. It's like $3 right now. I'll take it.
Yeah, there's a big sale going on right now. Just dropped on Xbox.
Cool.
It's going to be dope. I got a couple things like The Witness and a bunch of Resident Evil stuff.
Is The Witness or is it on Xbox now?
Yeah, it's on
Yes.
Xbox.
Oh, cool.
It's been on Xbox for a while now.
That's when I got blocked by Jonathan Blow.
That game's really clever, but I don't think anyone should play it.
Yeah. I don't know. Those puzzle games are weird for me. Sometimes I really like them. So you have to be really in the mood for it, but I'm rarely ever in the mood for it. So
I'm actually playing a puzzle game right now. It's called Subject 13, I believe. It's made by the same guy that made Shaq Fu, and believe it or not, it is awful.
I thought you were setting up to say it was really good.
I thought you were too.
I tell you what, if we're talking about puzzling games, I don't think there's anything more puzzling than Ben-Hur.
oh man. Ben-Hur is game of the generation.
It really is.
Last of Us, you don't got no Ben-Hur. And it's an Xbox exclusive.
It wouldn't be a podcast if Anchorman didn't take a shot at The Last of Us.
So actually, that brings me up to an interesting thing before we get into one of our bigger topics for the evening. Real quick, I did this thing for the podcast earlier where it was like the one like for one unpopular opinion. So each of us gets one unpopular opinion to go through. So we're going to start with Fame.
One unpopular opinion, just in gaming or
Ever.
ever? Oh, unpopular opinion. Let's take modern. Let's say Xbox has games.
Oh.
All right.
I
It's
think
okay,
Half-Life
we're
2
warming up
isn't as
here.
good as everyone says it is.
You are
I don't.
on very thin ice here, James.
I didn't enjoy the combat, the story, or the game mechanics.
What about all Fallout games are overrated?
Whoa.
Nick, get your wife here. We could call him the cavalry here. All right. Mike, you got one?
I did. It's funny because I tweeted that earlier. I had a few. The first one I tweeted out is that as a series, I think Grand Theft Auto is overrated.
I'm with you on that.
Extremely overrated.
I kind of agree with you. I played it. It's like, okay, Grand Theft Auto is good, but it's not great. Like, I don't know why everyone kept getting on it. Maybe it had to do with just the hype growing up with it. I don't know. But
I
it's
just don't
some love guy.
understand.
I can't get into it.
I just don't understand how Grand Theft Auto 5 last month in Britain was the third best-selling game.
No one will ever know.
It makes
No
no
one will
sense.
Who
I mean,
doesn't
have-
have it already?
That's what I'm wondering.
We're buying copies for grandchildren here.
I don't have it because I don't want it. But there you go.
I don't know.
Wait, the new Shaq Fu is coming to the Switch?
Oh yeah, I heard it's a Switch exclusive.
Well, okay.
Sorry, were we having a conversation about Grand Theft Auto? Then somebody brought up Shaq Fu.
That's
was
the second
awesome.
time on this podcast. Shaq Fu's been mentioned. That's the most times it's been mentioned since the 90s.
This is all that a Shaq Fu is ever going to get.
All right. What's a good? Actually, I could always go back to a classic. I think The Last of Us Part 2 should be canned.
All right, guys, that was the Multiverse Show, episode 51.
And instead,
You guys have a great day.
I think it should be canceled and then brought in for the Order 1887.
Here's the thing. In a way, I agree with you. And I love The Last of Us. It's my favorite game. And in many ways, I don't want a sequel.
Because the first one was just
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
some things don't like, it's like certain movies like don't make a sequel, like Hangover should die. The first one was great, ended great, don't make another one, you'll ruin it. I
The
get that
Matrix.
aspect. Yeah, you should have stopped at that first one. I get that aspect. But I mean, somebody has to do it right. Somebody has to give us a proper sequel. You know, I'm excited for it. I don't want it canned. Anchorman's not in his right state of mind, and you know, you can't listen to people who play on Xbox.
You know, I'm sort of between both of you. I don't want it cancelled since it's already been announced. But if it had never been announced, I wouldn't be saying I want Last of Us 2.
Nah,
Do you get what I mean?
My issue in particular is I just played and beat Last of Us. Story is great, arguably masterclass. The problem is
You hate Ellie. Hashtag anger hates Ellie.
no, I like playing as her. It was fine. Like, it was a different play set. The problem was the gameplay was just okay. Like, you just like, it's serviceable, got the job done. Like, it wasn't like inspired. Like, this is the best thing ever. And part of it might be just me playing it late. Part of it might be that. But still, I don't know. I feel like sometimes it can transcend it. It's time. But at the same time, though, I feel like the best part of Last of Us was the story and the characters. But the problem is they finished their story. They're done. Like, dragging them out any longer is pointless. And I don't want them to. And so, like, I don't know what you would do, because, like, the only other thing you could possibly do for a sequel is put it over to a different set of characters. The problem is the world's boring. Like, it's generic, cookie cutter. This is a post-apocalyptic setting number 6. And just insert, a slightly interesting concept for zombies. That's it. That's my issue in particular, but that's why it's an unpopular opinion.
Speaking of interesting ways to get zombies into video games, should we talk about the new Call of Duty?
Yes, we should. It's a very good point. So, James, why don't you head off this topic?
Well, since we're talking about the visceral experience of talking about the visceral boots on the ground experience of watching the visceral boots on the ground trailer for the new visceral and boots on the ground Call of Duty game that's got boots and it's got ground and it's very visceral.
Seriously, during that reveal, I lost count of how many times they said boots on the ground.
And visceral. It was just that they said it too many times. However, that aside, I think this is one of the biggest shifts in a mainstream genre that we've seen in modern gaming. And I'm really, really excited.
It's about damn time.
Oh, I'm hype as anything for that game. I can't wait. And
I think... Sorry, no, man, you go ahead.
Counting down the days till E3 when they show the multiplayer. Hopefully the beta comes out right around then, and it's going to be lit. I'm going to be on that nonstop.
The thing that cemented the idea that this is going to be different for me is it's not like the story, it's not the setting, it's not the way that they're approaching it. It's the fact that you don't have regenerating health. They have focused on something that is a major bugbear of mine in modern shooters. I love the original World War II CODs where you don't have regenerating health, so every shot counts. And this is just brilliant. When I heard that, I was tempted to put a pre-order in immediately, but I don't because pre-orders are stupid.
Well, it's going to be a lot of people that's not going to be playing then if they don't have regenerating health. A lot of people because
then they're missing out on a proper and fun experience.
People can't play the crappy way they normally play. And so
it's going to be funny because you're going to see a lot more people sitting back with bolt action rifles and not running around like.
I guarantee you won't see snipers running around quick scoping everywhere no more. No, they can't just turn on you, turn on you, and then quick scope you, and turn on somebody else. No, because they're going to die. So I guarantee you won't see those people running around anymore.
What you mean, like in a real war? It's almost
stop that.
It's almost as if they wanted that to happen.
And I mean, I'm sure they'll put a mode in there that does have regenerating health for people that want that, but I think it's refreshing also.
Well, you know what's funny is what's funny about that is it was like when everyone was complaining about no boots on the ground and everything else boots on the ground was necessary for COD. In Advanced Warfare, they had a specific game mode that was only boots on the ground, and it was Mosh Pit, like TDM, Dom, and I think maybe Capture the Flag. Nobody played it. There was like 900 people in that playlist at most. So I'm excited for it to a degree. I want to see how they do it. I want to see how it's executed. I'm actually super excited for the campaign because I was reading somewhere that there's actually a single player campaign and then there's a separate one that's co-op.
Yeah, the co-op campaign is different to the single player one. It's not like in World at War where it was the same campaign but with 2 players.
Like, I think that's really cool. Like, I like the level of effort they're putting into it because my biggest problem with Call of Duty's games, which is the problem a lot of people have, is a lot of it feels cookie cutter. And I'm not just talking about multiplayer experience. I'm talking single player experience as well.
Yeah, you're always a new person being brought in something, and there's always one point where you have to jump and catch a ladder from a helicopter.
Yep, or catch the side or something like that. There's always some cookie cutter aspect. Okay.
Oh, and what?
It's always at the end finale. You and your buddy or brother or relative are wounded, and it's this big dramatic ending, and then it's a cliffhanger ending for the sequel, which we're never gonna get. Call of Duty Ghosts. Thank you for that. God damn it.
And there's something I want to address. When everyone was, there's a lot of people going, "Oh, these guys are just copying Battlefield 1." Right? Okay. Do these people not understand how long it takes to make a video game of this scale?
I was going to say, to put it in perspective, Sledgehammer Games will have been starting to make this after Advanced Warfare came out, which was what?
2014.
2014, so 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And Battlefield 1 was probably in development at that point, but I highly doubt Activision and EA have little meetings together to be like, hey, so this is the direction we're going to take the FPS genre now.
No, this is a complete Deep Impact Armageddon situation. It's a complete coincidence.
It was the same thing when Advanced Warfare came out and everyone was like, oh, they stole it from Titanfall. I'm like, you do realize this game's been in development for a long time, right? We're not going to talk about that, but...
Anyway, guys, let's get to talk about one of the main topics we do push people off about it. It's about time we get around to it. So, Phil Spencer's comments.
Philip.
Yeah.
Oh, Phil! No matter what you say, someone's going to manipulate it.
You know what? As we speak right now, I'm going back and forth with a journalist from Forbes on Twitter right now, and I'm just having to destroy this man because he lied. I'm even shocked he even responded. He even responded to my tweet. He straight up lied, and he's running with the narrative, a false notion that Phil Spencer says Xbox will no longer have first-party games. In this article, he clearly put Xbox, he said, shouldn't be focused on a big narrative-driven exclusive titles like Horizon Zero Dawn, Legends, Zelda, Breath of the Wild. But Phil Spencer never said that. He never said that. I just don't get why people are running with this notion that this was said and it wasn't. And I'm sorry if you guys, I feel spacey because I am on Twitter currently with this guy at Forbes, and I have to put him on blast because he's being an idiot. I'm sorry, Anchor. Continue.
Yeah, the ultimate thing what's happened recently is basically Phil did a little interview, and the topic of Horizon Zero Dawn and single-player games came up. And Phil basically said, hey, single-player games don't sell like they used to. They don't bring in the people like they used to, which is true.
Yep.
Like, it is very hard as a single-player only game. We're not talking about a game that has single-player and multiplayer. We're talking as in only. We're talking Fallout 4. We're talking Deus Ex. Well, actually, not in Deus Ex. They have that too now. What else is there? There's
Horizon.
Horizon Zero
Zelda.
Dawn, Legend of Zelda. Like, we're talking about these kinds of games, and these games, it is very hard if you were a single-player only game and you're not a big franchise type to make a lot of money coming back at it. It is very difficult because you have to worry about marketing and you have to get in the good graces of everybody. Like, here's an example. People knew about Technomancer. Technomancer came out, didn't make a lot of money. Or even The Order 1886, which I love The Order 1886, but Ready at Dawn's gone now. Like, they have the studio still exists, but they're not doing exclusive stuff with Sony anymore. They went multi-plat. They did not succeed. And, I mean, it sucks, but that's just kind of how it is, unfortunately. Now, go ahead.
All you have to do is you can look back on exclusive sales, and people always get at me on Twitter because I constantly say exclusives don't matter to your run-of-the-mill consumer as much as we like to think they do. The big ones do. Things like Uncharted, Halo, your big franchises will always draw the casual market in. But if anyone thinks that someone like your run-of-the-mill, like I work at a chemical factory, if I think one of my run-of-the-mill with is buying a PS4 for Persona 5 or buying an Xbox for, I don't know, Cuphead or something like that, you're crazy. That's not what draws in the casual market. And what drives me absolutely crazy about exclusives, even if you look back into the PS3 and Xbox 360 era and you do a comparison, all you have to do is look at the comparison in Gears sales to what they used to do. They used to do, what, 5-6 million on Gears of War? 1, 2, 3, and Judgment all sold like 5 million. And Gears of War 4, I think, what, 1 million? Maybe? On that, you're also talking difference in install base. But if you look at attach rate for exclusives, and people stop using Uncharted 4 because it's a bundle thing. It's the same thing as Halo. The bundle ones, they're going to sell well because people are buying that bundle. I have Uncharted 4 because I bought the bundle. If you look at the attach rate for these games, they're usually no more than 3 or 4%. And that's not a great attach rate. And then you start looking at sales for games like Call of Duty, Madden, all the like multi-plat, more mainstream. They sell huge amounts of games with very little innovation. So, of course, people are going to be less prone to make single-player games because as stupid as it sounds, back a couple of years ago, I would have called myself crazy to say that there was more risk to a multiplayer-only game. But there's companies taking that risk doing multiplayer-only games that's paying off for them. An example, Overwatch. Overwatch is hugely successful.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. But go ahead, babe.
No, I just think that people, it's just another example of, I'm not sitting there. What's funny? I'm about to make a statement. Everybody's like, "Oh, fan you an Xbox," even though I've been called a flip-flop over the past couple of days for whatever reason. But I just think it goes to the notion that anytime Phil speaks, things tend to get twisted and not taken, at face value. What he said was correct. But at the same time, he never said that Xbox would not be having single-player games. not at one time did he say, like his Forbes writer is trying to tell me that he said Xbox shouldn't be focused on single player games like Horizon and Zelda. I think everything he says isn't taken at face value, and he's the only person, you know, in as far as any of the big company goes that I know of that says anything and it gets taken and twisted to something completely and utterly different. He is correct. Multiplayer games generate a hell of a lot more revenue than single player games. It's a fact. Horizon Zero Dawn can outsell Gears of War 4 all day and tomorrow. But with the microtransactions and everything else inside of Gears that people will buy, people complain about it, but people still buy it. With the microtransactions, etc., the DLC, etc., it will be more profitable in the long run than a Horizon Zero Dawn, etc.
Does anyone remember when Treyarch released the first? I think it was their first quarter on Black Ops 3 with the supply drops, and they were talking that their additional revenue from supply drops was in the like millions, like we're talking like $20 million of extra cash just from supply drops. Like there's a guy I work with, he dropped over $1,000 supply drops, and he has done that with every Call of Duty. So even if your game's not selling, say you sell 1 million copies less than you did before, you get a good amount of people that spend $1,000 each, you're making up for like almost 15 copies of that game that you didn't sell.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good point. Like, I going back to Black Ops 3, one of the guys on YouTube, Call of Duty YouTuber, Fisticuffs, he spent like $500 on supply drops within like a month just because he wanted to get the wrench, I remember. Now, one of the things you got to think of, too, with this is that Phil never said that single-player-only games aren't coming, but if Microsoft does want to go this games-as-a-service route, don't beat them up for that because there's a lot of money for them to be made there, and they could put that money into investing in new studios and new IPs and new single-player experiences, so it helps them with that cycle.
Yeah, and let's not even start talking about FIFA Ultimate Team.
Right.
Like it's a miracle that EA haven't made FIFA Ultimate Team its own game, separate from FIFA, because it makes so much money.
Yeah, 100%. And that's what I'm talking about, is a lot of people are unrealistic and don't seem to get this. Like, it's with the Phil Spencer thing, what people really need to do is stop reading articles on and go watch the actual interview. And the thing is if you read an interview, there's one thing to watch an interview, and then there's another thing to read someone's impressions of it through an article, and then there's the people that just read the headlines. And you can honestly tell, especially in a social media aspect, the people that are only reading the headlines or reading the first paragraph. People are picking and choosing what they want to read. And when you paraphrase something, you can take something completely out of context. You can do it with what I say on a podcast. For example, I said that, Uncharted 4 sales didn't matter in a Spectrum because they were part of a bundle package. It's the same thing as Halo 5. But you can misquote me and just say the quote is, I said Uncharted 4 sales don't matter. And that's an actual quote.
I like to call
but it's not accurate.
I like to call those people Mr. President.
Oh.
Okay.
All right.
I don't have any sound effects, so I'm just going to go.
This freaking guy, man.
But
sorry.
But that's why I'm saying, though. And like a lot of the things, too, is there's a lot of media. Forbes is notorious for it, and I know Fame's arguing with that guy right now.
This is my last reply. I never asked for your first reply. You came at me. Freaking guy, man.
But there's a lot of websites now that cover video games. Don't have a lot of depth in the field, I feel. And there's also the fact that everyone's just going for clickbait now. And what's a better clickbait title than Xbox head exec says single player games don't matter, or Xbox head exec says Horizon Zero Dawn and Zelda are irrelevant? Like, there's a click right there. I could just see it now. It's so easy for these people to get baited into this. I highly encourage people, if they want to get a better understanding of this whole topic as a whole, go watch the actual interview, and it clarifies everything that needs to be said. The fact that Phil came onto Twitter a couple of days after to clarify himself and actually answered questions people were throwing at him is one of the reasons why I like the Xbox, how open and talkative the Xbox executives are. I've chatted with Mike Ybarra before, back and forth on Twitter about the Xbox update insider crap. I've had Aaron Greenberg tweet me back and forth with a couple of things. It's cool how interactive they are, but unfortunately, it shoots them in the foot more often than not when things get either twisted or, on the rare occasion, they do actually say some stupid things.
Yeah, and what kills me above everything else is just that this is the one thing Microsoft does, and they are very open with people. They talk all the time. It is very easy to get attention of a executive type from Xbox. It is very easy, and it's just what ticks me off is just that people take advantage of that, and they just harass them over it. And I can't, I get it. That's one of the things about being very open and very, very transparent, is that people will try to take advantage of you. I get it. I just can't stand it that it's like people are using this as an opportunity to twist and turn things. In some regards, it is better to be quiet. I mean, it's hard to twist someone's word when they're not saying anything.
Let's face it, being on social media as a whole, if you're a company, is a very light step. You've got to be very careful with what you say. You've got
unless you're Wendy's.
Unless you're
Wendy's.
Wendy's operates on a whole different rule book than everyone else. Honestly, Wendy's Twitter PR guy is honestly a 17-year-old guy. You know it is.
I think he did it one time. I thought he was gonna get in trouble, and they was like, "Go with it." And now he's just completely just savage every day.
Whenever I land in America, if I ever come there, I need one of the first things I'm going to do is go to Wendy's because it just sounds great. I'm not even kidding.
I know, it's hilarious. Because they're not the best thing.
The Twitter handle has gotten them so much more popularity than what they have. I mean, Wendy's is one of the big 3 or 4 out here, right? McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, one of the big, 3 or 4 fast food chains. But the Twitter handle has got it so much popularity over the last couple of months that it's crazy. It's not that good, but it's not bad food either.
What is Jack in the Box? Because I've heard of it.
It's a small little, slightly regional.
It's in the same line of there's McDonald's, Burger King, then there's Jack in the Box, Wendy's, and I don't know if there's a fifth as far as main chain. I know in Texas
is Jack in the Box burgers?
Yes,
it's all burgers.
But in Texas, and that's pretty much anything in the South, there's nothing better than Whataburger. Whataburger is the greatest burger you can get, and anywhere in the southern part of the United States.
There you go.
So if you ever come to the States, come to the South and get you a Whataburger.
I'm really pale and ginger. I'll probably get shot.
You'll get shot where?
Anywhere. I'm really pale.
Oh.
Nah. So anyway, guys, I just this is an opportunity to field some questions. I know Fame's got a dip. Thanks for being on the show, Fame. Appreciate it.
I got a few more minutes. I'm good. My bad. If you guys ever wonder why Fame just disappears, it's crazy in my house. And then if it's not crazy, I got to be up at the butt crack of dawn every morning because I work in the medical field and our times are just crazy.
What do you do for a living, man? I don't actually know.
I am a phlebotomizer, sir. I will phlebotomize you if you need me to.
Wait, is that like blood tests?
Phlebotomy.
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right. So we got a couple questions. I'm pulling up the tweets here. We had several ones regarding the topics we covered tonight. Also, hit us up in the chat if you have any other questions you want us to do if you're watching this live. Let me pull this up.
Wait, while you get those up, I'm just going to quickly say something because I listened to the show that I very sadly couldn't do last week. It was very good, guys. Very quickly about Star Wars Battlefront 2. Something you forgot to mention or probably didn't know is very important is who's writing the story. One is the guy who wrote the story for Spec Ops: The Line, one of the best story games that there has ever been, and the other is Mitch Dyer, who used to write for IGN.
Oh, wow.
Really?
So Yeah, so it's somebody who's written one of the best games ever and somebody who's reviewed a bunch of the best games and understands game story better than maybe some developers do. So it's
Oh,
an
that gives me a
interesting
little
game.
that gives me a little bit of hope because I'm really kind
I
of
know,
excited to
right?
see what I'm kind of excited to see what they do with the story. I'm really excited to see what they do with it. But
That's
the
why
fact
I
they've
want.
got the fact they've got Spec Ops the line writer in it, that gives me even more hope for it because that was one of my favorite games of the last generation.
Yeah. I just wanted to mention that because it's cool. Anyway, questions, please.
All right, so you got a couple of them. One of them was regarding our topic when we were talking about Phil Spencer for a little bit. This is from Shawan. Sorry, I just lost it. Shawan Watson, who asked the question. It's like more of a series of questions, really. But he says, let's using GTA 5 as an example. So why do gamers get up in arms when Phil Spencer states what is a fact? GTA 5 is a bigger draw than most games from the past 6 months. Let's use GTA 5 as an example. They generated enough sales to take a chance on 6 new IP that cost 70 million each and not sweat. Don't people understand when you have a game or two that no one leaves, it will allow you to use that revenue to take chances.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly what I was saying earlier.
Yeah, man. I completely agree. It's
Yeah,
like how, like 5 or 6 years ago, when we had EA release loads of original games like Mirror's Edge and Dead Space and a couple others like that, and they didn't sell, but they could afford to make those not mistakes, but endeavors, because they were making enough money from FIFA, Madden, from Battlefield, all that stuff.
And a lot of people that get up in arms about the multiplayer games selling better are people that are obsessed with the whole console war prerogative, because it's no secret that PlayStation has gone all in on single player experiences. A good majority of what their exclusives are, which is good for them, but what people fail to understand with the whole Microsoft versus Sony thing is that Xbox is a very small part of what Microsoft does as a whole. What people think that Microsoft can just pull money out of their software design company and put it into Xbox. Xbox has to have its own separate payroll. That's how business works. And Sony's had to go all in on the game aspect of it because it's one of the few divisions that they still have that's profitable. So of course they're going to be putting as much of effort and money into it as they can, because as far as I know, fiscally, the PlayStation 4 is the only reason Sony is holding itself above water. I think, except maybe Sony Pictures, which I thought broke even this year. Maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really is. It's a point where if you have people continually playing the same game, when there is a sequel, if there is a sequel, that's almost guaranteed sales. Like, okay, here's an example. In 2 to 3 years, when Rainbow Six Siege has a sequel, people are going to buy it. Everybody who's been playing Siege is like, oh man, that's so much fun. This is going to be great. And they're going to pick up the new one. Like, it is in their best benefit. If you have people playing, that's going to sell. Now, here's an example. So Fallout 4, that game sold partially because of the hype of Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas, but also let's talk about the modding community. That kept people playing Fallout. It kept them playing as long as they did, which extended the life of the single player game. I mean, it's still in the top 20 most played games on Xbox. That game came out almost 3 years ago, which is ridiculous, really. Like it really is outrageous for that game to still be relevant. There's
I've got
more
a
people playing
question
Fallout
from.
4 than Mass Effect.
I'm sorry.
Like that's ridiculous.
Right, have we got time for one more question? Because I've got a good one from the YouTube chat.
Oh sure, yeah, bring it up.
All right. This is from D Ginny. Do you anticipate or would you like to see sequels to any of the new IPs Microsoft has released this generation? If so, what games?
Only one game for me, Sunset Overdrive. I need a sequel. I need it. That's
I'm
fine.
gonna say Rise. I need a sequel to Rise, and I need them to do me a huge favor and never, ever, ever make a sequel to Recore.
It's funny. It's funny. I was going to say Rise too because I really enjoyed Rise. It's just that the way that it ended, I don't know where they could take a sequel to that unless it's obviously all new characters. But I would personally love to see it.
I'd love to see a game in that style done in a different time period, maybe. Like do a Viking one next or something along those lines.
Or like a samurai one or something like that.
Or
Yeah,
put them all
100%.
together and then have them fight each other. Oh, wait, that's For Honor.
Yeah. So here's the cool thing. So back when I played Rise in 2013, I had an idea for a sequel. So towards the end of Rise, you find out there are gods intervening in minor aspects. What if you took the same concept of a cosmic bet between two deities, and you're literally just like swapping sides per se, but like you're going to a different time period or a different location, and the bet continues. And it's just this cosmic struggle constantly. In each game, you get a glimpse more into who these people are and like who these entities are. And each and every time, you get a little more out of it, but it's ultimately building up to something. They can be standalone games, but you can continue if you wanted to.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say, and that's the thing too, is you can change the theme of it too, and still keep the name or make it a sequel. Look at God of War; they've completely that trilogy was finished, but they've branched it into what looks like Norse, right? So it'll be a cool adventure because Norse mythology is one of my favorites. So I'm really anticipating that. And Rise shouldn't be, if there was to be a sequel, they shouldn't be scared to make the sequel in a different area, or there's so much they can do with it. And that's why I think it's one of the IPs that Microsoft released that has a lot of potential. Like the game kind of got a little repetitive near the end, but that's fixable. Like there's things that were wrong with it that are easily fixed. It's not to the degree like Recore where they'd have to rework the whole game, or Quantum Break, which had so many plot holes. It just
I was going to say Quantum Break with a bunch of change could be interesting.
It could. I actually found it was weird with Quantum Break. I found the TV show actually pulled me out of the game instead of brought me more into the game. If they were to ditch that, I don't know how they go about doing a sequel to it, honestly.
Yeah, Quantum Break was one of those games. I agree with you. I was not a fan of the TV show aspect of it. And even though it wasn't a long game, I felt like it stuck around for about an hour too long, in my opinion.
The whole time I was thinking, can we just get Aidan Gillen back in Game of Thrones? What's he doing?
I have to admit, though, the one thing that would really turn me off of Quantum Break was the really, really cheaply done boss battle at the end. That felt cheap and felt out of place with the game as a whole. I don't know.
Yeah, that was crap.
It felt like cheap. It felt like they were just like, well, we're going to end the game here, so here you go.
I think my proper answer to this would be maybe not a direct sequel, but I'd like another game by the guys who did Ori.
Yeah. I'm
Good
actually
point.
starting that this week, too, so that'll be interesting. I just installed it, so.
All right. Anyway, guys, that wraps up our show. We ran a little overtime, but I think you guys can forgive us for that. Thank you guys for everybody showing up in the chat. Thank you so much. We really do appreciate it. Thanks for going over all the topics. I really appreciate you guys, especially my co-hosts, for showing up. Real quick, do some outros, and we'll get out of here. James?
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. Sorry again for not being here last week. If you guys want your question read out on the podcast, you can tweet at Multiverse Show, or you can tweet individuals. You can come talk early on the show next week. You can get me at James_S Wilson to talk about films, why you disagree with me about Guardians of the Galaxy 2, what the hell is Radiohead doing, and many other things. Come and say hi.
All right. Mike?
All right, guys, it's Mike from the Inner Circle. Make sure you check us out on at the website at ticgn.com. Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll catch you guys next week.
And Nick.
Oh, thanks, guys, for tuning in. You can follow me on Twitter at Undead3XVI and pretty much any other media or gaming platform, except for the Nintendo Switch.
All right, you guys can follow me at Anchorman V2, all one word, Xbox, PlayStation, Twitter, Beam, whatever. You can find me on there, and I will see you guys later. This has been the episode 51 of the Multiverse Show, the greatest show on Mondays. We are out of here.